At Akshiva, we walk alongside families through crisis, healing, and integration. Join us for a powerful 2-day online campaign. This year, our theme is integration, striking the balance.
They might be feeling that they're failing. They may be unduly reminded that they're not succeeding.
At Akshiva, we build bridges between parents and children, between families and schools, and between cultures. With your help, we turn struggle into strength. Hey, so we are live here at Akshiva Call Center. Welcome everyone. Thank you very much for joining. Much appreciated. Thank you very much. As I appear here at the Cause Match page, we're holding at $88,000 so far. Baruch Hashem, been collected. That's, let's see how much percent. We are on 24%. We need to get to, the goal is for tonight to get to 50%. So please, open your heart, open your pocket, and donate to Akshiva. We have a whole lineup tonight, which I'll tell you in a moment about. But first of all, thank you so much for tuning in. This is much appreciated. Just you being here and spreading the word. If you can send the link to other people, that's much appreciated. And behind me, they're sitting in the call center. They might call you, you might get a phone call, so you can get off for a few moments just to donate. We'll come back. Tonight we will have a full interview with Rabbi Teitelbaum. Rabbi Teitelbaum is a rabbi that did Aliyah since a few years ago, and our topic this year is integration, and he'll give us a lot of very important information and things that can help the community, especially the community of Olim that came here, Baruch Hashem, in the last 2 years. It's been an influx of Aliyah since the war, and Beit Shemesh is growing and growing. The communities are growing, the needs are growing, and Rabbi Teitelbaum will share a lot of ideas that can help Olim and Chinuch, all the hardships that we go through Chinuch, and when you do Aliyah with all those hardships, he will shed a lot of light on that. And later on, we have an interview with Yossi Strickman. Yossi Strickman is an expert. He's going to tune in from New York, Passaic, New Jersey, actually, and he will join us later on at 8:45, and we'll hear from him all the challenges that teens go through with technology, the challenges that I'm sure a lot of our listeners, their children are going through, different, as we call nisyonot, different challenges with technologies, with phones. A kid that wants a phone, a kid that you're trying to prevent him from exposing to some of the bad technology that's out there, and the dangers that families face as far as internet and phones. So we'll hear a lot of that from Yossi Strickman. I'm not going to be with this noisy background. I'm going to go up, but this was just to give you the feel over here, what's going on here tonight. We are on full power, trying to collect for Akshiva, and in a moment I'm going to tell you. Oh, as I'm speaking, the numbers are just going up higher and higher. So while I'm speaking, feel free to go and donate. Just a quick, for those listeners that don't know Akshiva so well, I'd love to tell you a little bit about what Hakshiva does for the community here in Ramat Beit Shemesh, just in case you tuned in and you don't know what's flying. So I'm here in the building of Hakshiva Nachal Soret in Ramat Beit Shemesh, Israel, planet Earth. And Hakshiva is an organization that helps the community, I would say, in three different ways, three different branches that they're focused on. The number one is the mentoring program and in-school programs that Hakshiva runs constantly on a daily basis. There's older girls and boys that sit with kids from elementary and do homework with them or mentor them and help them. Having just an adult in their life that believes in them, that gives them power to continue and succeed in school. Sometimes they have minor challenges or learning difficulties, ADD, ADHD. Whoever was here on the live stream in the morning, we spoke a lot about that, ADHD. So Hakshiva helps on that and giving parents tools over here, right here in this hall, in this building. There's lectures. They bring in lectures to give a lot of tools for parents that going through the school years and challenges at home and ADHD, learning disabilities, etc. The other branch that Hakshiva is very involved with is therapy. There's over 13 therapists in Hakshiva and plus couple therapists that help teens, adults, families. Especially, there's been an increase in the last 2 years since the war. There's so many hard cases that are pretty close to the circles here of some families in Beit Shemesh, and just going through the war. And like you said, integration, just doing Aliyah can bring up a lot of challenges that here Mrs. Adi Khan is running that whole program of taking care of therapy, therapists in need for the community. And the third branch that Hakshiva is very involved with is teen programs for teens that once, twice, 3 times a week. There's a centers actually right here in Ramat Gimel and different places, different programs for teenagers in the preventative, like preventing them from, if there's some challenges going in their life, or after they fail, as they call, going off their ending in the streets. So this is Hakshiva has been their home to help them, go back into life. So all that said, I don't have any like product or something to show. Obviously, these things are highly confidential and we can't show it, but we could tell you about it. And those who know. And it's been a blessing for the community here in Ramat Beit Shemesh. Not every community has a full organization with the whole building, with professionals taking care of the well-being of the community. And this is Hakshiva is here, Mamish 24/6 or 7, you can say, helping the community. So now it's time to give back. Please open your heart, open your pocket, and I'm checking. Okay, it's moving forward. I might just call for an interview. Let's see, they're not here. I wanted to call maybe in some of the girls that are doing the phone calls to tell us how does it work to try to convince you to donate. But anyways, I wanted to talk to you about another very important thing. We're dedicating this campaign, Lilui Nishma. Moshe Shmuel, Noel, the Noel family, were very close actually to Hakshiva. Moshe Shmuel was a soldier in Netzach Yehuda just a few months ago. Unfortunately, he was killed in an incident in Gaza. together with four other soldiers, Hashem Yikom Dam. And Moshe Shmuel actually has an incredible story that a few years ago, when he was younger, he was challenged with learning difficulties. He had a lot of it was dyslexia and other things that were really giving him a hard time in school. And Moshe Shmuel had a mentor from here, from Hakshiva. Actually, I got to know that mentor. I know him. And he actually sent me a video with very, very warm words. Obviously, I won't show it. I'm not sure if the family is okay with that, but let me tell you about what that mentor said about Moshe Shmuel. And these words will be Lilui Nishmas. And obviously, the donations that you're giving will be Lilui Nishmas, Moshe Shmuel. Moshe Shmuel, he says, was a kid that was faced with a lot of challenges in school. Learning was extremely difficult for him. So much that I heard from his mother, has been giving a lot of interviews. His mother says about him that he had a hard time, reading the davening, and he would memorize the tefillah, the davening Baal Peh by heart. He would memorize the whole thing, so he could. Nothing stopped him. Nothing stopped him. And as his mentor here from Hakshiva, that I think it was close to 2 years, a year and a half or 2 years, that he's been that he was together with one of the mentors here in Hakshiva. He told me, that mentor, that anytime he was faced with a challenge in school and had a hard time, he always was with a smile. He had a person with simchas chayim. If you look at his picture, the picture that goes around, that he's dressed as a soldier, it's such a beautiful and big smile. So, we're trying to do all this incredible work here in Hakshiva, that for boys like him that had a really hard time pulling through, and Hakshiva was there for him. And later on, he was very, very successful in the army. He got certified and he was on the way to become something really, something really good in the army, a very good position. Unfortunately, he's not with us, but the schus of all the donations that you can give over here for Hakshiva's work will be Lilui Nishmas Be'ezer Hashem. We have another 15 minutes before we start our live interview. So I would like to interview. I called in 2 girls from the call center. So let me just move. Come on in. Okay, yeah, this was pre-planned. Okay, so come on in, come closer. Okay, so I would like to ask you, let's make sure we hear you. Okay. So, has it been, how many hours you spent here so far calling people to donate to Hakshiva?
Meantime, I'm here like about 2 hours.
2 hours it's been. Okay, how's it going?
I got half of my goal.
You got half of your goal in 2 hours?
Yeah.
Can I ask, what was your goal?
That's shekel.
12, you hear this? 12,000 shekel in 2 hours. It is possible. So now you need to raise your goal, no? So what?
I know.
You want to raise your goal? Okay, she's ready to raise your goal. And how many hours you've been here?
About 2 hours.
2 hours. And are you successful as her, or not yet? Not yet. Okay. So now, how to convince? I'm trying here through this, because girls are making these phone calls. How do I convince? How can you try to convince someone that maybe is not so familiar with Hakshiva's work? How would you convince them to donate to such an incredible cause?
So first we try to explain to them what Shiva is all about and how important his donation, whatever he can give, is to this organization. And yeah, hopefully he will give. And
Okay, so how do you how do you describe to people Hakshiva? I have to ask you, okay, what does Hakshiva do? How would you describe that?
I tell them that Shiva helps a lot of kids and people, and they have a lot of different kinds of help, and most people know. And
Most people, you're saying most of the community here in Beit Shemesh know what Hakshiva does. Okay, I'm very happy to hear that. That is true. Disclaimer: I've been working for Hakshiva many years in the teen center, so as her father. And another disclaimer. And Rabbi Wachtel and myself, we are witnesses to the incredible work that Hakshiva does. So here you heard from them. That's pretty convincing. But let me ask you, what if someone says he doesn't want to? He says he doesn't have, or not right now, he's too busy. How would you keep him on the phone and make him donate?
So first you have to try to, convince him how important it is. But if he still can, you have to try to understand the person himself. And you try as hard as you can. You know, you can't like force the person.
You can't force. No, we're not forcing you. We're just highly encouraging, like strongly encouraging you to donate to Hakshiva, especially if you know how important Hakshiva is for the community. Please reach out to the lowest part of your pocket and scoop out, or it could be a credit card, and please donate to Hakshiva. This is a campaign that we do what is it, once a year. It's a very special event, and now it's a time if you could give back to Hakshiva for all the incredible work. Last thing, how long you're planning on staying here?
until I reach my goal and more.
Till you reach your goal. You're staying here till you reach your goal?
Yeah.
Okay. And tomorrow you coming back again? There will be another call-in period tomorrow, right? You're coming back. Okay. So wait, what if tonight you reach your goal? What do? You double the goal?
Yeah.
You double the goal.
So then,
Okay. That's the way to do it. You heard it. So please go donate. And thank you so much for coming in for this interview and encouraging people to donate. Thank you so much. So, okay, keep on, go reach your goal. Okay. You all heard it. That's very important. These girls are committed, very highly motivated, and Be'ezer Hashem, we hope this continues. And tonight, again, the campaign is going today and tomorrow. But right now I see the numbers are going on. Right now it's holding an $88,461. Okay, dollars, yeah. Last thing, before in 10 minutes, we're gonna have Rabbi Teitelbaum coming on, full interview that I made with Rabbi Teitelbaum. And please stay tuned. It's such important information to hear, especially if you're Oleh, if you did Aliyah. It could be a long time ago, it could be today. I'll tell you a little personal story. I did Aliyah when I was very young, when I was a young lad. I was born in Houston, Texas, and did Aliyah when I was a kid. I grew up in Harnof, whoever knows it. Harnof, I'll tell you the joke. Harnof is basically Beit Shemesh 20 years back, kind of the same community. And I want to tell you that obviously I myself went through all the challenges of integration, myself, my family, and friends, many friends also that did Aliyah. And I'm very close to those challenges. I feel for it. Integration into the community, changing everything. It's obviously changing. Even if you move in New York you move from New York to New Jersey or out of town, as they say, obviously it comes with a set of challenges. How much more if you're moving to a different country, different culture? And as the Gemara says, Eretz Yisrael niknes b'yisurim, you acquire Eretz Yisrael with some Yisurim. It's not easy. It's not easy. Tomorrow, stay tuned. We're going to speak to Rabbi Pesach Friedman from Chaim B'Chesed, that they deal with so much just from the point of bureaucracy and just the day-to-day deals with just integrating here in Eretz Yisrael. And then the challenges with school systems, just coming into a child coming into a school with completely different set of rules, everything like the way of teaching, and especially is the mentality differences obviously make a big difference. I found that, for some people, for some Israelis, it's hard to understand the challenges that Ole goes through, because as far as his concerned, he doesn't understand. Okay, so just integrate, just fit in. But to try to explain to them sometimes that a 30-year-old father or mother that come here after living in the States or wherever it is, or wherever, South Africa, you name it, living in a different place for 30 years, the language barrier and everything, and suddenly when you're 30 to change your whole brain is almost impossible. Some people manage to do it better. Some people have a harder time, but everyone agrees that integration is very hard. And growing up in Yerushalayim in the 90s, I would tell you there was nothing, there was no help provided for Olim, places like Hakshiva. The work that Hakshiva does, okay, generally was obviously lacking in the community, but how much more for the Olim? It was a big challenge for parents integrating in those days. And now, Baruch Hashem, even though it's still very hard and still very challenging, but Baruch Hashem that we have a place like Hakshiva that does enormous amount of work, and ideas, and like I said, therapy and giving and parenting and helping parents and doing workshops in schools, and Baruch Hashem also the schools are more accommodating and more understanding for the Olim. So Baruch Hashem, we're in a great place that we have a place like Shiva. Just the only thing is, getting back to the point, we need the dough, as they say. We need the money. So please open your heart for Hakshiva, for the incredible work that they do. And Mirz Hashem, with that, with Hakshiva being strong and having the means, we'll be able to provide more and more of these services for the community. And without further ado, I will introduce you. Please wait just a moment till we get online here. The full interview with Rabbi Teitelbaum, which was an incredible experience to sit with him. He's an incredible rabbi that dealt with so many cases of chinuch in America, and he did Aliyah. So he will be the best, putting together, merging these two together, chinuch and integration. So without further ado, Rabbi Moshe Teitelbaum, but stay tuned. Right after that, we're going to be on a live Zoom. I'll be interviewing Yossi Strickman from New Jersey live here on from the building of Hakshiva. I'm just going to be upstairs. Okay, so
join me to help guide you in the safety and stories to keep you safe, your children safe, and your whole family safe.
At Hakshiva, we walk alongside families through crisis, healing, and integration. Join us for a powerful 2-day online campaign. This year, our theme is integration, striking the balance. At Hakshiva, we build bridges between parents and children, between families and schools, and between cultures. With your help, we turn struggle into strength.
Shalom Aleichem, everyone.
Hi.
So I'm back with the surprise. Rabbi Teitelbaum, I know I promised Rabbi Teitelbaum it's going to come up a little technical difficulty as these live streams tend to have sometimes. So we got here with me, sitting next to me is Rabbi Sipper. I would say the brain behind this whole beautiful operation. We're doing good. Just like if you don't mind, can you check the numbers? Where are we doing?
We're
I
around
think
about $110,000.
$110,000. Wow. I don't want to take the credit to myself, but I was telling people that they got to reach into their pocket really deep. So maybe it's working. Maybe it's working.
Maybe it's working. Just take into account as well that it's all matched, which means that if our goal is $360,000 and we have $110,000, so that's $250,000, which means we have to raise another $125,000 by round about another 26 hours. So
Wow.
that's about $1,000 and $10,000 an hour. No, yeah, yeah,
$10,000
$10,000 an hour. Yeah. Okay, so we can do this. We can do this.
You could do it, Rabbi.
We can do this. And
Okay,
as Hashem,
pressure's on.
tomorrow will be a time to celebrate and to look back. But now's a time of hard work, and we need everyone really to do everything they can to make this happen.
Right.
I'll tell you something very short, which I say often on the broadcast, and that is, we find in the Torah something fascinating. We find that we have the background, the history of how the Avos HaKadoshim, how we have Avraham, we have Yitzchak, we have Yaakov, then we have going down to Mitzrayim, and then we have leaving Mitzrayim, and then we have the first parasha that actually talks about mitzvahs, right? And one would imagine that you begin Parashas Mishpatim with Haftarechel Kamoicha, with the elements of looking after your brothers, and what does it start off with? Hisikne Eved Ivri. You're buying an Eved Ivri. Who is this Eved Ivri? Who is this Jewish servant? So the Gemara in Kedushin discusses this, and it says that it's referring to a fellow who is a ganav. He's stolen money or whatever product, and he hasn't been able to pay it back, so he has to be sold for his slavery.
Right.
Okay? So we're dealing here with somebody who actually doesn't really, only happens when Yovel is Noiheg. It's something that doesn't really happen that often. And even if it does happen, we're dealing here with a very low part of the society. Wouldn't it be better to discuss why do we deal straight away with a thief? It seems like it's very prevalent, very common, something we need to discuss. Why? So Yaakov Naiman says, he is a Rosh Shiva of Or Yisrael, he says that HaKadosh Baruch Hu has this kid that he's worried about. And he has a kid that he is constantly on his shoulders. You ever go to a chasna and you have somebody who's got an older son and older daughter, and they start talking to you, and about 2 minutes in, they start saying, I've got a daughter who's 30 years old. Do you have a shidduch for her? Because it's on their kishkas. It's something that's really affecting them. HaKadosh Baruch Hu has this kid who he's really worried about. He's called his Ganav.
Wow.
And he can't put it in Parshas Bereishis because it doesn't fit. Not Noach, not Lech Lecha, not Vayera. As soon as he possibly can, he puts it straight into Parshas Mishpatim because it's the first opportunity to talk about his kid who's suffering, his kid who is struggling. Wow. Put him into an environment that people care for him, that it's good for him. And therefore, HaKadosh Baruch Hu, is our Father, is so worried about this child as soon as he possibly can, he slips it right in. And this is something that inspired me. Hakshiva is dealing with children that HaKadosh Baruch Hu is worried about. These are children that are struggling. These are parents that are struggling. These are kids who are good kids. Every single one of them is tov lehem. It's good, but they have different struggles, whether it's in technology, whether it's bullying, whether it's academically, whether it's spiritually. And HaKadosh Baruch Hu is worried about them. And therefore we are there to help HaKadosh Baruch Hu, as it were, to look after these children and to provide them with everything they need in a holistic fashion. And that's what Hakshiva is. And that's why it's an honor and privilege to be part of this organization. It's a struggle. It's something that, Baruch Hashem, we're looking after almost 1,000 kids now in Aleph and Gimel. But if it's Parshas Mishpatim, it's so important, and it's so important to us. And let's, as Hashem, pass this message on, and let's really help these children do the best they can, and today's the day to do it.
Wow, that is extremely inspiring. I love the great word from Mishpatim. You mind giving maybe for our listeners a little bit of more of a specific example, obviously not a case, but an example of, and there are many cases of these special children of Hashem that need help. Give us examples in the community.
I'll tell you one example. we have a Moadon, which is a club which takes the kids, looks after them in the evenings, and takes them off the streets. Obviously, keeps an eye on them.
Boys and girls.
Boys and girls separately, and they have their various things to keep them occupied. The police are very grateful for us, and exactly when we're not functioning, Liel here is a front line in that. And we have a Moadon in Ramat B'Shemesh Gimel, and every night of Hanukkah we have a different Hanukkah light being lit, and different people come to light. And one night this Madrich lit it, one night this Rav lit it, and it comes to the 8th night, and there's nobody really that we have extraordinary to light it. So he looked around the Moadon, and he said, anyone would like to light? So there's this kid who, he's been thrown out of his home. He has Savhar Chaka from his home, which means he's not allowed to go anywhere near home because he has a distancing order. A young kid is 14 years old, and he's involved in crime. He's involved with really very, very serious stuff, and this is his home. We provide him with security, provide him with food. He doesn't have a place to eat. He's in a foster home, and this kid is a rough kid. And the 8th day Hanukkah, we said, anyone want to light? So this kid walks up and he says, I want to light, but I have never lit candles, and I haven't said it to Kedom Ekeshech. So he borrowed a kippah, and all the kids were cheering him on. This kid has never made a bracha, and he lights the candles, and he bursts into tears. And he said this is the first bracha he's made since his bar mitzvah. And he lit those candles, and I think he lit up a part of Klal Yisrael's soul. I think he dried a tear of HaKadosh Baruch Hu that day, and Baruch Hashem, this kid is doing fantastically. And this is the forefront of our fight on a daily basis. We're fighting for the souls of our children. We're fighting for their lives. We're fighting for their security. We're fighting for their ruchnius, and we're fighting for their future. And this fight is something that we can do a lot better when we have the finances and the ability to do so in a more generous way. And that's what we're here to today. And Hashem should all help us to have nachos from our children. But we're living in a tough, rough world, and we're here for them. And Bezat Hashem, the schus and the merit of helping us, Hashem should give nachos to your children. Bezat Hashem.
Just in this incredible story that you just said, let me surprise Rabbi Sipper live. He doesn't know this, but the one that gave the kid to light the candle, it was me.
It was you. Wow. Wow.
So it's a true story. Happened to me.
Any details I missed out there?
No. You said it really, really accurate. And that was for me. It was a story that held me for a very long time and gave me koyach to end this really, really hard work that Akshiva does. Everyone over here in this building is working really, really hard. But I think Akshiva also has a lot of chelik here in Beit Shemesh in the preventative world also. That's the main work. That's the main focus that we need to work on preventing kids from getting to those places. So what is kind of the work, if you can expand a little bit on that?
So we have obviously tutoring. We work with the kids in the schools. Oleh comes with a lot of ambition and enthusiasm and bright-eyed and bushy-tailed and all looking forward to coming to Israel with the ideal. And then they come to a very, very different society. They come to a society where the ideals are different, where the language is different, where the school day looks very different, and it's very foreign. For them to do well in school is crucial. For them to fall through the cracks is something that is only going to be detrimental to their self-esteem, to their academics, to their society standing. Is something very, very important. So we work with them with that. We have a homework center which is functional. We have something called B'nai Aliyah, which is as well something that we work with the boys, of little older teenage boys who also need like an older brother to work and discuss things with. But a fabulous program we have really as well is a program that we have for the girls, where the girls are able to, with encouragement of the schools, to able to find madrichot, where they have madrichot that they can talk to them about the questions that they have. And Yiddishkeit, Judaism, is always about asking questions. It's not about leaps of faith. And these questions they have are very, very serious questions that have to be addressed sometimes outside of school because they don't feel comfortable with the school teachers. And we bring them together, and we there's certain questions that they have are pressing, and if they're not dealt with can be very, very difficult for them. So all around, whether it's boys, whether it's girls, whether it's teenagers, whether it's kids who are struggling in school, whether kids who are beyond that, whether it's kids who just need some love and compassion, we're there for them. And Baruch Hashem, we have 21 years behind us where we've helped hundreds of children, hundreds of children a year, thousands and thousands of children in the past, and we are the forefront. I must tell you, I met somebody called Adam Fagan in America. He has the most beautiful office I've ever seen. It's overlooking the Empire State Building. It's overlooking Statue of Liberty. It's on. I'm not sure. It's really, really cool. He has pictures there with all the presidents, and he's the head of the OU, president of the OU. And I said to him, you know, Aliyah is great, and encouraging living Eretz Yisrael is a mitzvah and it's fabulous. But do you know what we're seeing on a day-to-day basis of kids falling through the cracks? Do you realize the achrayus you have to encourage people to do Aliyah when in the wrong time? Unless they have an organization like us that is in the forefront to pick them up and to give them the self-esteem, to give them the abilities to do well. And he said, absolutely. He said he's heard about us from the States, and it would be fabulous if we were able to clone what we have in Bet Shemesh to other places like Ra'anana and Modi'in and Yerushalayim, just to give these kids a pleasant stay in such a rough, wild environment. And Baruch Hashem, the kids that have been through us are flourishing. So that's another one of our wonderful things. Yeah.
Wow, 100%. I said before to the listeners that I'm a live testament to that. I came here when I was 6 years old from Houston, Texas, and I've seen with my own eyes all the challenges that in my family and my friends. I grew up in Har Nof. I said the joke that Har Nof is Beit Shemesh 20 years back.
Yeah.
So I've been seeing these challenges, everything, and if Hakshiva would exist, I would dare to say, maybe I have the right to say this, if Hakshiva would exist in the 90s in Yerushalayim, I know a lot of lives that will be saved, lives that would be better, families that would be built. I could testify to that. So that's why I have personally incredible appreciation to the work that Hakshiva does. Just to generalize this, what do you think? I don't want to put you on the spot, but what do you think is the number one challenge that an Oleh faces when he comes to Israel? Like the hardest thing?
I think the understanding that we're living in a society that has totally different values. You know, you go even to the more affluent, even to the more anglicized areas here, you don't have 60 kinds of herring on Erev Shabbos. Right? You don't. You don't. People are not living.
I've seen it there.
Yeah, and I'm delighted that there is that kind of variety, but people here are surviving. Even people with money or financially stable are surviving. We're coming through now years of Corona. Remember that? Remember what Corona was? Right?
Yeah.
Right. And that we've always forgotten about that. We're living through Corona, so the whole world have Corona. But we're living here on a regular basis where kids are running in and out of a bomb shelter, of a cheder mamad. It is an entirely different kind of trauma that these children are going through. And a parent who believe that they come to Israel and it's a little bit different because, you know, the weather is different or the hummus tastes different.
The milk is in a bag.
Or the milk is in a bag. It really is not understanding that Israel is a different kind of a country. And what is important in America is not important here, and what is important here is not important there. And also, that we don't have the amount of time that we have in America that we have here. Parents are chasing their tails. We don't have a Sunday afternoon where there's a barbecue time. We don't have that. I miss that. It's one of the only things I miss in England, where you have a Sunday afternoon off. Here you're going straight from Motzei Shabbos in the summer. Motzei Shabbos can be 8:30 until you finish. You're going straight back into a Sunday. The week looks different. Parents have less time, and therefore, I think understanding the needs of society, that you have to adapt in a very, very crucial, quick way. I think parents, it takes some time, and at that time, sometimes the kids are already way out there. What do you think?
Sure. Yeah, I have a story to tell you, like a little example for what you just said that just happened to me fresh. I work in the summer in the Catskills. I go every summer to New York for 2 months, and I came straight in from, it was right at the beginning of the summer vacation in New York, and we were in the middle of the war with Iran here, and right over here, as you see the window behind us, there were missiles flying here in the air, tens of them in one shot. It was scary. We were in the bomb shelter. The kids were sleeping in the bomb shelter apparently because why to make them run in and out. And right before we went for the summer vacation, my 7-year-old daughter, asked me, we stay in like a bungalow over there, like, Abba, where's the mamad? So mamad, whoever doesn't know, is the bomb shelter. Where's the bomb shelter in the bungalow? And like, I would explain to them that an American kid cannot even, so like you said, an American kid that comes, that starts, coming here in from tranquility to chaos, you can call it maybe.
Sure.
In many cases, like in my case, when I came here, I came straight into Intifada.
Yeah.
That was Intifada, the bombs and the thing. I came from Houston, Texas.
Yeah.
It was absolutely tranquility. It was calm. Life was just chill, like you said. Sundays off, going to play days and then things like that. Into my cheder was right off Machne Yehuda, hearing the bombs and everything.
Wow.
So for me, it was for my whole generation. I shouldn't talk about myself. For my whole generation, it was traumatic. It was hard. It was difficult. I'll just end with words I heard. I had the skills to learn chinuch by Rabbi Noach Orlik,
Wow.
and Rabbi Noach said that a kid that comes here. These are his words. I hope he said it a few times in public, so I think it's okay to say. He said a kid that comes here over the age of 8 or 9, sakanas nefashos. He said it's dangerous. There's a lot of dangers involved. So that's maybe with your own words end up with the vital work of Akshiva.
It's wonderful living in Eretz Yisrael. It's
That's great. Don't get
it's
us
great.
wrong.
It's great. It's great. But we have to come with the tools. You have to come with the understanding that there's major changes have to be made, major shifts in our paradigm has to be made, and we have to be prepared for it and give the kids the extra attention that they need, the extra love that they need, the extra support that they need. And we're here to teach what has to be done, and we're there to provide it for the children themselves. And we also educate the rebbes and the teachers in the schools. And Bezos Hashem, we look forward to welcoming all these people who are coming with Mashiach, and we will be there for you too.
Amen. Amen. Okay, so Akshiva is doing the preparation work. So please you're right now on the page of Cause Match. Please go if you still didn't have the chance because you were glued to the screen listening to us. So please, now it's your opportunity. Please go down. It's being matched like Rabbi Sipper said. Please open your heart, open your pocket, your credit card, whatever it is, and donate to Akshiva. It's time to give back to Akshiva. I know, but most people don't know to what extent Akshiva goes and how much it's involved. I once gave a speech here, a funny speech. I said a thank you speech to. I'm talking about the teen center for kids that are they're going off the earth. So I said a thank you speech. Thank you on behalf of the whole community that won't have a chance to say thank you. Thank you on behalf of the bars and the streets on the sides that are not broken. Thanks for the cats that are still alive. And I went on and on and on for all the kids that unfortunately fell to the street, and Akshiva is working so hard to get them back. So please donate, and please stay tuned. Right after this, we're having an exclusive interview with Yossi Strickman about technology and the challenges it carries these days. So stay tuned. Don't go anywhere.
If we keep on excusing children and their behavior because they have ADHD, then we're handicapping them long term, and we're not going to be able to give them the skills and tools that they need to succeed in life.
At Akshiva, we walk alongside families through crisis, healing, and integration. Join us for a powerful 2-day online campaign. This year, our theme is integration, striking the balance. How do we support our children as they grow up in a complex world? Your support makes a massive impact on our community. Thank you.
Do you hear me?
Shalom Aleichem.
Shalom Aleichem. How are you?
Baruch Hashem, how are you? How's your beautiful day in Eretz Yisrael today?
Baruch Hashem, it's amazing. It's a privilege and an honor. We are live right now. So right before I get to you, Yossi, 1 second. So we had a little problem with the interview. We're going to get back to it right after this interview, the full interview with Rabbi Teitelbaum. And right now we're going to dive deep in with Yossi Strickman, all the way from New Jersey, Passaic, New Jersey. He's an expert on, he's going to tell us what an expert he is, but he's an expert on technology, and he helps, when I heard his story, I was blown away. Incredible work he does there. So without further ado, if you don't mind, Yossi, just introduce yourself and tell us the incredible work you're dealing with every day.
First of all, thank you very much for the opportunity to be on this beautiful Zoom meeting, all the way from Passaic, New Jersey, all the way to Eretz Yisrael, Ramat Beit Shemesh. My name is Yossi Strickman. I've been involved in technology for over 25 years. I've been working originally as a network administrator in a few different companies. One was a real estate company. For 5 years, I worked in Art School Masora. About 15, 20 years ago, I always forget how many years ago, the huge Asifa in America happened about bringing awareness to technology. I got very involved in setting up the tag office at Passaic. I was managing it. I ran it. I managed the Lakewood location. I managed the Muncie location. While I was doing this amazing work, I realized there's one thing that they were missing and not focusing on, and that is working one-on-one, VIP, getting to know the customers, getting to know the users in a way that I can make every single person happy. Not only happy, but satisfied and enjoying the process of being healthy, safe on the internet, and not only for yourself, but for our beautiful, amazing children.
Wow. So how does it look like? Like when who do you help? You help boys that are challenged in technology, like what the areas, or is it parents? Who are your clientele?
I started my organization. The name of the company, I'm going to answer this in 1 second. My name of my company is called Project Trust, which is very important to this answer. I was looking for a name that was not focusing on male, female, young, old, yeshivish, Sephardi, Hasidish, but the word trust. Do you trust yourself? Do you allow other people to trust you? Do we trust each other? But then I take the word trust and I blow it up. TRUST. Taking responsibility using safe technology.
Wow.
With that, to me, I love the word. And I think every person that's listening to this will be like, wow, that's amazing. But let's get back to your question. What's my age? As young as 7th grade and as old, and I'm dealing now with a 65-year-old Zadie. Everything in between, young, old, single, married, boy, girl, doesn't make a difference. Everyone needs to understand what is a filter, why are we filtering, whether it's tznius, not tznius, safety from cyberbullying, predators, everything in between. That we're here to educate you and tell you how amazing technology could be, but if you use it safe, you use it healthy, and you use it functioning.
Oh, wow. So we'll get back to that in a moment. Now, just a little bit more about you. How did you connect that kind of thing, like the IT? Did you learn this? How do you know how are you tech savvy, as we call,
and connect that with working with people. So kind of, are you a Rebbe? Like, what was your background on that?
I was a network administrator in technology since I'm in my early 20s. During my time, people used to always ask me, could you set up a computer? Could you set up a phone for me? A printer, small office. And then the world changed into going away for so much from people having computers in their house to having tablets and having phones in their house all over the place. And then I took that and saying, you know what? I feel a movement going on in myself that I'm able to help so many people by just educating, because that is way more than filtering. It's the education of how to use a phone correctly and safely.
Mhm. Okay. So moving forward with, like, what do you think? You mentioned a few just briefly, but if you could expand a little bit more, what are the challenges you see in technology? Like, in what categories?
Number one, every house has technology. Number two is we as adults, we use it for business. We use it for shiurim, tzedakahs, chesed. We're busy. We're busy the whole day. When a child gets a device, they have all the time in the world. They could claim they're sick at home and not go to yeshiva for 3 days. They have literally 24/7. When I said seven, I meant seven, amount of time to just play with their phone. And what I try to do is I use the word function in society. Why do I use that word? I don't want to say the word, God forbid, Ben Torah. Why? Not because God forbid, but if as soon as I say the word Ben Torah, I lost that kid. I lost him. So if I say function in society, every house has their own society. Meaning, I'll expound on that. If in your house you say your kids have to go to shul, in your house they have to do jumpy jacks at 3 a.m, whatever it is, that is the rule of the house. That's what you need to do to function in your house. Same thing when it comes to technology. We want to make the rules functioning as mother and father are still running the house, but they understand the challenges of today's generation and realizing that how much is available in just even a basic flip phone. Just a basic flip phone. Because you have texting, you have sharing of data, just like you have in a smartphone, because you have SD cards and you have Bluetooth sharing. So you could do a lot of what you do on a smartphone on a basic phone. So it's really getting the parents to educate and understand just because my kid has a simple phone doesn't mean they're safe. It doesn't mean they're not safe. And what I try to get every parent to be calm, to be collective, and to feel that they are educated for their children and keeping them healthy and safe.
So you think the challenges come because people don't know, they're not aware of the dangers, or they don't know how to deal with it? Even if they know, they just don't have the tools, they don't know how to deal with the dangers.
The answer is yes and yes and no and no. And I could go in all four directions. There are parents out there that are tech savvy. I was at a Shabbos Sheva Brachos about a month ago, and I met somebody, and he was an IT manager for 1,000 people, and he's busy with servers and computers, and I started telling him some basic stuff on the phone. Not that he didn't know these words, but he didn't realize how important it is. He thought it was like, it's another usage on the phone. No. It was so important. He didn't realize all this information. And to me, there's a lot of parents out there that are cool, they are savvy, and I'm sure a lot of them are saying, I know technology. Okay, but what you don't know is children technology. It's another word. It's another world. It's another universe. I'll give you a few examples. Okay. Let's go, like I said before, with a basic phone. We have You have calling, you have texting, you have email. Some basic phones with the kosher phones don't have email, okay? And you can say, I'm gonna block my, picture texting. No problem.
Mhm.
I could share it with an SD card. I could share it
Mhm.
with Bluetooth. And a lot of times you could plug it into a computer and import from the computer onto the phone. So a lot
Mhm.
of it is saying, so how, and then parents are gonna say to me, what are you gonna do? What are you gonna do? We can't give our kids phones. You could give whatever the kid needs, but it comes with, we're here to make you happy. We're here to make you functioning in today's society. We're here to work with you. There's a common denominator, a common process that me and you want me to trust you, take responsibility using safe technology. You want me to say to you, you're a big boy, you're in 11th grade, and I need a phone. I'm talking about a basic phone right now, before we get to a kosher phone, before we get to a
Mhm.
smartphone.
Right.
You want me to trust you? Prove it. Show me. Okay? Who you calling? Who you not calling? Who you texting? Who you not texting? And these features are both on a smartphone and on a basic phone.
Mhm. So, just going a little bit back, we have a lot of parents listening in, and I mean, we understand bad content like non-tzenius content that they're
Right.
exposed. What other dangers that parents should be aware? The parents that are like we said before, that not only because they're not savvy, maybe because they're just not aware or never heard of, because of the generation gap. What kind of other types of dangers kids these days are challenged with technology?
Number one, cyberbullying. So if we go back to when we were children, right? So you didn't have a phone or technology. So you would, by breakfast time, fast for shalom, shepherd another kid, right? God forbid, right? Put the arm out a little bit. By lunchtime, you're playing ball together. When you go onto a chat, and 95% of the time, you don't know everyone on the chat, and not everyone knows you. You say something, they say in psychology here in America that it's the top 5 reasons why unfortunately kids commit suicide is from cyberbullying, from the pressure of being bullied online, and now they're known as that kid with that deficiency. They're known as that kid that doesn't know how to play ball, and they can't get off of um, that naming because how you go over to 3,000 kids. That's number one. Number two, I'll use the word Bittelsman. Kids could play games from today till tomorrow. Kids could play games from here and there, from all day, all night, and and connected to games of Bittelsman, of wasting time. It's something called predators, child child abusers, right? Who is playing games? Let's think about this on a mature level, right? A 12-year-old, a 15-year-old, an 18-year-old, they're still in yeshiva. They don't have a lot, not that I'm saying they're not busy. That's when they play games. A girl in high school, they come back from seminary, and they either a girl comes back from seminary, goes to work, gets a job, college, family life, shidduchim. A boy over 18, 19, 20 either gets serious in yeshiva or goes to college, gets a job, gets married, work. Who's left playing? I call them the cholim of the gamers, the predators, the sickos.
Mhm.
So if you think about it, I was just talking to a parent this morning, literally, that when a boy 17 years old is going and talking to a female, the opposite, a girl to a male and a male to a female, right, who's younger than 17 to over to 18, that person that's over 18 without realizing it, they're a predator. Because they're talking inappropriately to a minor. That's what people don't realize over here. So you have predators, gaming, wasting time, which is connected to these predators. You got cyberbullying, but you also get one other thing. Your emotional negativity, feeling like you're empty because you did nothing all day. And if we could teach every kid, you could have, but be ito yubazmana, meaning an hour. I'm not every parent. Again, if I say an hour and one parent wants to give 45 minutes, I'm just giving a timing, a certain amount of time. I know some families say Friday and Sunday. I know in Eretz Yisrael, Sunday's a real day. Friday's not. So we'll switch Friday in America, to Eretz Yisrael. But days that the kids don't have yeshiva as much and they have more time at home and they're bored, give them a little time. Keep them busy, but healthy. So I'm going to ask the question. You're going to say, how do you know what's healthy, what's not? Okay. It's a great question because, right? So these websites out there for books, movies, one is called commonsensemedia.org. commonsensemedia.org. Okay. Well, that will tell you that if you are playing a game, it tells you books. I'm sorry, it does not go into games. It goes into books and it goes into movies. Then together with Common Sense Media, there's another website or a /app called IMDb, which the difference between Common Sense Media and IMDb, that Common Sense Media tells you there's something inappropriate going on at 21 minutes and 33 seconds or page 204. IMDb tells you what the scene is about. It's a little bit more graphic. It's a little bit more specific. And I, some parents like the naiveness. I mean, like enough to know every detail. Oh, it's something not appropriate. Some parents want to know more what's going on, how you could do things. To find out about apps, if they're good. I love using non-Jewish people. Why? Not because rabbis and Jews aren't good. Because as soon as you say rabbi said this, oh, he doesn't know what he's talking about. But when a non-Jew says, oh, he's the smartest man in the room. You know what I'm talking about, right? So there's a guy based in California called Smart Social. It's an app, it's .com, and it's also a website. And he rates every app out there that kids are using. They're not giving you Macy's app. They're not giving you Outlook, like for email. They're giving you Telegram. They're giving you Spotify. They're giving you every app and things that you never heard of. It's giving you green, yellow, red. What they consider safe, medium, and dangerous.
And what was it called again? Just repeat for parents that missed it.
Smartsocial.com. There's another there's another website called bark.us. There's a million of them, but I like these two. Bark.us is based for school education, but both of these apps and websites send you alerts. You sign up for the email alerts. And what happens is tomorrow morning, Instagram comes out with a new new feature, an addition, a new app comes out. Boom. Mommy, daddy are educated. Mommy, daddy knows what's going on. And that's what I want to happen. I want parents to know, don't say you're naive. When you say you're naive, your kids are laughing to the bank. Okay? The ones that say, let me get educated, let's go to Smart Social, let's go to Bark.us, let's go to Common Sense Media, let's go to IMDb, let's go to these sites. Now, when the kid says something, now you sound like you know what you're talking about. I'm going to end off with one more thing, which I think people will it's an amazing thing. I think they'll love this. Some people don't allow their kids to watch movies. Okay.
Right.
Good for you. Amazing. There are other parents out here that are listening. I allow my kids to watch movies. Okay. So in Apple, when you're setting up screen time, built in, you could say TV shows through Apple, movies through Apple, ratings of 4, 9, 12, the different ratings within Apple. There's another website called, of course, I'll tell you in a second, I'll tell you in a minute. I'm just
No
freezing
problem.
for a second.
We have time. We have time.
No problem. What this does, it automatically links to your Netflix account. It automatically links to your Prime, and it skips scenes, inappropriateness, language, and violence. As a
Oh, wow.
parent, you could turn it on and turn it off. I'm gonna tell you in a minute what it is. Give me 1 minute,
Okay.
in a minute, I'll remember the name. But what's beauty about this is you could control what your kids are watching. With all that, a lot of the Netflixes and the Primes and the Peacocks and the Disney Plus, they all have parental control built into the app. And to me, you could do it so many ways. You could, with the app, you could go in there, not on the computer, but not on the smartphone, on a computer, log in, and you could go in and say to Netflix, for Tati Mommy, one level, for oldest daughter, another level. You could create as many as you want. Okay. With all that, you could do these other things. The name of this app is called VidAngel, VID Angel, ANGEL. So you connect your VidAngel to your Netflix. So I tell kids, you could get more higher allowance. And I tell parents, you get more security. So everyone's getting more.
Everyone's happy.
Everyone's happy. And the goal is for you to be happy, the kid. That's the key. Because if the kid is not happy and satisfied, we're losing it.
Wow. So you're saying in one word, you're telling parents, don't just sit back and say, I allow, or just be involved and do something, because there's so many tools out there that could actually do it better, as opposed to just like, I don't know what's going on over here. So you're telling parents an action, go and do something.
And if you
Just
don't know,
last thing, you're what?
ask. If you don't know, ask.
Right. So you're mentioning cyberbullying, you're mentioning wasting time, and obviously inappropriate. What do you think about kids that are connected to social media? I mean, you mentioned it a little bit, but social media of itself, I would frame the question, how bad is it?
I'll tell you a story that happened to me Friday morning. And Hashem loves to help people to help other people. This story came to me, and it was the most beautiful story. Part of what I do is I go to yeshivas. I first speak to all the bachur, and then I meet each kid privately, and we filter chanoch linar al pidarke where they're holding. With that, the yeshiva has their own rules, and we work and samech b'chalkov. I met a kid about 6 months ago, and he had all social media on his phone, brand new kid to the yeshiva. And I said to him, listen, I want to help you, but the Rosh Yeshiva says you can't have social media. I'll give you everything else. What should I do? And we worked out a pshara, and over time we were able, together with the Rosh Yeshiva, together with the boy, not a fight. We worked with him. We got rid of one today, another one the next day, and we worked it around. He came over to me Friday. I went to the yeshiva with a smile on his face as if he just won the lottery for $1.8 billion. I want to thank you. I said, what did I do? I'm completely off of social media. And he told me a line that people say to me, it's not true. I was depressed the whole time. The second I got off of social media, I started feeling better. He said to me, thank you for giving back my life again.
Wow.
Saying all that, social media, I know some people don't like to watch movies, but there's a movie on Netflix that someone sent to me, not through Netflix because I don't have an account. But it's something called Social Dilemma, Dilemma.
Mhm.
And it explains from the makers from Facebook, the makers of Instagram, that the whole way they designed social media is for you to get addicted.
Wow.
It's an amazing movie to watch. What it does is, besides, you always feel that you need to be connected. The amount of appropriateness that goes through social media, it devalues the human being. I actually met a girl about a month ago, 3 weeks ago, and she says to me, I'm not so makbid about sneeze. From girl going to seminary this year. And she says to me, when I get out of seminary, I'm going to have social media. So why take it off? So I said, number one, I don't mean to be rude. You sound like a nice girl, but the seminary said you can't have it. She goes, okay, deal. But we continued talking. And I said to her, would you want your husband to have social media? She said no. So I said, if it's not good for him, why is it good for you?
Right.
And that we went on a whole conversation. And a lot of people say to me, I know I'm on Instagram, I'm on Snapchat, but I don't post. So there's nothing wrong with me being on there. If I don't post, what's the big deal? So I'm sure your father said this to you, and I'm sure a lot of people listening to this, their parents said it to them, what I'm about to say, and they say it to their kids. You're guilty by association. By showing up to that pizza shop, Motzei Shabbos, where there's a hangout, I'm not doing anything. I'm just standing on the side. You're guilty by showing
You're
up.
guilty.
You're guilty, right? And I
Right,
look
right.
the same way over here. You're guilty by association by making yourself available and not just available, but connected to this type of stuff going on 24/7.
Wow. Yeah, so it's a pretty straight a no for social media. A parent that put a filter on his kid's phone. Can he feel safe and say, "Okay, I'm good. My kid has a filter on his phone. I went to Yossi to trust. They put a filter on my phone, and now I can sit back and life is good."
The answer is no. The answer is no. And they're going to say to me, what do you mean? Because the moment that kids know that mommy and tati are not, they're on the side, they're naive, they're not paying attention, there's so many shtick that these kids could do. I've seen the most success with the best parents.
Mm.
Always interacting with their kid. Okay, how is it going? Anything not working? Let's call Yossi and his team. Let's figure this out. What you want something? 1 second. Is this good? What could be bad about this?
Mhm.
Every app, there's a positive and a negative. If you go into the app store, okay, and you look up, let's say, Instagram. Instagram is let's say it's level 12. There's 4, 9, 12, 17 at all. If you click on the number 12 or you scroll a little further down, Apple tells you why it's good and why it's bad. So what's happening here is parents have this information available to answer their kids. And especially if you're going to Smart Social and getting these alerts, and Instagram comes out with a new feature that could be a little dangerous, and the parent tells the child, yesterday they announced this. I got an alert, and I know this information now. You know what's going to happen? The kids are not playing around.
Mhm.
The kids are not playing around because Tati and Mommy are on top of the game.
Mhm.
And you don't have to be a computer techie and a computer genius. It's just knowing what you need to know for your child. I'll use an example in America because I don't know the stores in Eretz Israel. But would you send your kid to a ShopRite in America, a non-kosher supermarket, and get me 6 hot dogs? No, look for the OU. Right? Same thing over here. You want something, let's figure out which is the kosher. Let's go to the kosher section. Let's figure out what's available. Let's figure out what you need, not what the world needs. What you, my precious child, needs. And let's make it work for
Wow.
you.
Wow. Yeah. I just want to ask you, it might be a tough question, but I know it's your field. Here in Akshiva, one of the things Akshiva deals with the kids in school, preventative, kids that everything is, Baruch Hashem, very functional, but we have also the teen center over here that deal with kids that went off the derech and they've been, as they say, in the dumps. And they have a phone that's obviously not filtered, nothing, they're not interested. And I know you've been dealing with some of these cases. What is the starting point of a parent? There are parents that would like to know if the kid is completely out of the game, he has non-filtered, is there any chance something I could start with him, something to get him in to be somewhat safe on social media, on phone?
So, number one, let's go back before you get to the off the derech. Let's go with a kid that's questioning devices. And I'll get to the off the derech in a minute. What I do with those types of kids, it's a little bit of a bribing game, but it's a little bit of a process and a program. Meaning, I take away the frustration or the friction between mom and dad and the child, and it comes to me. Now the parents could go and go out for pizza with their child. Now I say to the kid, your phone that you have is that cheap, junky, $20 device that you got from Walmart, Walgreens, Amazon, B&H, wherever. That's where you got it from. I'm going to make you a deal. I'll get you a better phone from mommy and dad. Okay, on one condition. You act like a functioning human being. I'm not telling you to become Ramosha Feinstein or Reb Chaim Kanievsky. I'm telling you to become the best you. Meaning, you're supposed to be in yeshiva, go to yeshiva. You're supposed to be at home, don't go around and yell and say not nice words to your parents. Be nice to your siblings. Function. And what I'm able to do with those kids, which it's a separate level than off the derech, okay, is I got them to be functioning, that they're being heard. They feel good that they have a brand new, let's say an iPhone 15, not a 16, right? They have a newer phone. They don't have a junky phone. Now they're cool. They won't go to Walmart now because they're cool with the 15. They can't go to that $20 phone. So it's a little bit of a bribing game. I get the kid to say I'm sorry to the parents. I convince the parents to say I'm sorry to the kids. For what? Who cares? He's going to behave. Just say I'm sorry, right? So now we get both people to say I'm sorry. The kid gets what he wants. He's functioning. In a month from now, we can have a different conversation. That's what I do in a nutshell.
Mhm.
I mean, it's a lot of work.
Right.
It's hours of
Yeah,
work.
for sure.
It's a lot
That's
of
what you
work.
do.
Right. Let's go with the off the derech. When I say off the derech, they're rebellious kids. I had a kid, beginning of the summer, came into my office, necklace, all cool, all cool. He wanted to go to a certain camp. And someone from this yeshiva said something bad about him. And he got unaccepted to the camp. When I mentioned the word camp to the kid, he was so angry, I couldn't talk to him. I called up the mother the next day. I said, can I call the kid? I put the kid's name on I took responsibility for this kid.
Mhm.
The kid was Talmud Hashavua, and during Color War, you know those big questions they asked the top kid in the camp of that division, because you can't get it wrong? He was that kid,
Wow.
okay? But unfortunately, he went to a beautiful yeshiva that's going to work with him with his other issues. We tried. I had a bunch of rabbeim working with me, but you know what? What he saw, we cared about him. We tried to make him happy, and we made him happy.
Mhm.
What I look to do with these kids and say, you want social media? Okay. You want to be a chazer, or you want to be a nice guy? Let's work with one or two. Why four? Why five? Let's go with one or two. Why? Not because you can't have. It's called negotiation. You want your parents to respect you. Your parents want you to respect them. Let's have a
Mhm.
deal. And I get kids to say, this is awesome. My mother's not going to yell at me for having Snapchat now. And my father's not going to yell at me for having Snapchat. But you know what they want to see? That you're acting like a mensch. You're acting like and I'll use this word that I keep on using, a functioning human being. And when I get these kids to say to me, thank you for bringing my parents back. Again, the beauty of these at-risk yeshivas, 95% of them, when they hit 2021, they all come back. They all come back. But they come, you know how many guys come back to me after they went through their journey? You're the only guy that could touch my phone. Because I took care of them before. While they were down, I called them to wish them good Shabbos. They see me in the street, they're my friends. That's what we need to do. So yes, they're in, I'll use the American version, the Waterburies, the Eaton-Towns, the TS's, Yeshiva High, Cleveland, whatever it is.
Mhm.
But you know what? When they're ready, let's work together during this time. Let's loosen it up. No problem. Number one, there's no schmutz. No schmutz. You have a little social media because that's what you're holding? Okay. But now they're acting like functioning human beings. And we work together with these kids. And they love it because there's no anger in the house.
Wow.
It's giving
Right.
them that hug. The Rabbi trains that style. Just hug them. Just love them. But through the phone, on one condition, you act like a mensch.
Right. Right. And it definitely builds the trust.
Oh,
Trust.
it's not. It's trust. It's taking. They feel it. They love it. They're in.
Right.
They're in heaven. They can't breathe because the relationship was ruined.
Right.
Now it's not. I bring all that together.
Oh, wow, wow, wow. Okay, so we're coming to a close. I wanna ask you like just I would say philosophical question. Um just
Anything
because
you
I
want.
want just
Asking
because
for a friend, right?
I want a good answer. Yeah, philosophical question. And then we'll have some closing lines. Um so is internet and social media and all these I would say internet. Is internet a bad thing or a good thing?
Car is a great thing and a horrible thing. A phone could be a horrible thing. A regular old fashioned, the Bubby is 80, you could dial the wrong numbers. You could dial the right numbers. Technology is here to stay. Technology is not going away. It's helping us on a daily look. I'm in America, I'm in Passaic, New Jersey, you're in Eretz Yisrael, and we see each other beautifully, right?
Right.
However,
And we're
this
collecting money for Hakshiva. The money is coming through the net.
let's go, let's do it. Right, it's all coming through the net, correct. But there's a saying called Bi'ito Yubazmana. There's there at a boy 12 can't put on film with a mitzvah. 13 he could. In America, I don't know what it is in Eretz Yisrael. You can't get a license in New York, in New Jersey, until you're 17. 18, you're not considered an adult in America until you're 18. 21 is a different level of adult. That doesn't mean you're a bad person. Bi'ita ubizmana. And there's different ways of giving technology. Meaning, there's a phone, there's a computer, and there's a tablet. If we could win by giving the tablet, not the phone, for kids that want a phone, you're winning the war. What is the difference? You're going to ask me, what's the difference? You're not walking around with a tablet. You're not walking around with it. It's in the house, it's in the car, but it doesn't go with you into shul, into the supermarket, into a chasana. And if we could, every person could feel that it's here, we're going to use it together, we're going to get educated together, and we're going to help each other make it safe for you, make it safe for and make it safe for everybody.
Wow. Yeah, so we'll close with maybe a few just to continue that mode. Parents feel I hear it a lot because I deal with teens and young bachurim. Parents, I often hear from parents that it seems very, very overwhelming. It's like how can I control this? Like you said, it could be used for the greatest thing, but it could be a beast, a monster coming out and destroying lives. So a few maybe positive words for parents that feel overwhelmed that their kids are asking for social media and are on social media and they're afraid. I don't know what my kid is up to. Just a few words of that you've seen over the years in your work. I'm sure you had a lot of stories of success. So just some encouraging and positive words on this matter.
So I'm going to use, it's a beautiful question. I'm going to say one line, and I don't want to come across as being rude, but there's a saying in Hebrew, Maisa avos simin labadim. When a boy is born and the parents are makbid on Chalav Yisrael, and I'm not trying to say if you're makbid Chalav Yisrael, we're not getting to that conversation now. We're not going. But the ones that are, tell me if I'm wrong about this one, they're very, what's the word I'm looking for? Obnoxious about it. They walk past a Carvel in America and they'll say, you know, I'm Chalav Yisrael. That's not Chalav Yisrael. I just want you to know that that's not Chalav Yisrael. You know, right? If parents walked around the house and said the same thing about technology, that we are filtered people. We don't touch this new iPhone because we did not put some level filtering on this phone yet. It's brand new. Let's set it up in a way that no one could be nirshal. And I'm not telling you what filter. Because if I tell you, oh, there's Apple, there's, there's one in America, which I think is, I tell this to people. If kids in Waterbury could use it, you could use it. If it works for them, it could work for you, right? I use the one Gentex solution, and it works great on Apple devices, Android devices, Macs, and Windows, and even a router for an office. Okay, it's a great software, and it works in Eretz Yisrael. I know a lot of people that have it. A lot of my bachurim have it in Eretz Yisrael. Families in Eretz Yisrael have it. But if you started from the foundation, started from the bringing up we have filtering. We are Chalav Yisrael. We are a filtered house. Okay, now the world of filtering is beautiful because it's not a negative word. The example I use a lot in the 20s, 30s, and 40s, when Nebuchadnezzar, Bubbies, and Zaydis lost their jobs in America because of Shabbos, because they had to work 7 days a week. The ones that said it's schwer to be a Yid, it's hard to be a Jew. Where are those kids today? Affiliated, and they're not religious, and they're married to other people. The ones that said it's geschmack, I'm the happiest person. We're going to sing Shalom Aleichem. We're going to sing Adon Olam, and we're going to sing all the songs. Is me and you and everyone listening. The parents today that say it's schwer, it stings, it ruins my phones, and it's disgusting, and it's rude, and they yell at you. You know what happens to those kids? I don't want to talk about it. But the ones that say it's geschmack, we're going to figure out a way that we're going to make every person happy. 1 second. You're a size 12 shoes. I'm a size 14 shoes. Who cares? Who cares what size you are? Who cares what color it is? Who cares about what you need? If God forbid someone has Yedamachla, has cancer, has to be driven on a car on Shabbos, every person listening will get in the car and drive that person into the hospital. They won't think twice if that person needs to go. But chas v'shalom, we give them a little bit more on their phone, and because we're not working with them, then they feel you're not listening to them. But if we hug them and love them and create a trust, and we create a responsibility from them and from you, and achdus together, then it works. And you can ask me, how do I know? I see it every day of the week. I'll end up with one Maisa. I had a father, I was dealing with a girl who was watching Schmutz. And a lot of times I end off the first phone call. In Mir Hashem, we're going to tanz zusammen ans the chasana. We're going to dance together at the chasana. And the father, and I knew the father from before. We're friends, we know each other. He said to me afterwards, "You're crazy. Look what's going on. She get married, we're going to dance together." I remember this like yesterday. I went to that chasana when she got married, learning now in Eretz Yisrael and Kolo. Okay? And I remember the Kala and Chassan were about 5 feet from the chuppah. And I put my arm around the tata, and I said to the father, "We're going to dance together." And we did. And to me, that's the goal here. It's to take them through these humps of saying to these kids, "We got you. We care about you. Let's do this together. And we'll work together. And we'll build so many happier houses for many years."
Oh man, beautiful. Wow, wow, wow. What a way to end this on such what a powerful message. Thank you so much, Yossi. It's been a pleasure to get to know you. Disclaimer before us, and now a pleasure to have this interview with you. I'm sure parents have a lot to take out of this conversation. It's every word that was said by you over here is could be helpful for someone, or maybe a lot of it for a lot of parents. So again, thank you so much for coming up.
Thank you again. And if anyone wants to reach out, I could give you my email if you want it.
Trust, go ahead.
It's ticket@projecttrust.net.
How do we find you on Google?
Just type in Yossi Strickman Project Trust, projecttrust.net. There are in the news, there's some articles there, some videos, and there's a contact page. And it was an amazing pleasure of talking to you, to everyone. And if I could help one Jew, one Yid, do something better today, it was worth it. Thank you for your time.
I'm sure there's plenty, and they'll be at your way. Ezrat Hashem. I'm sure it could help a lot of parents. Thank you so much.
Have a great
Thank you
day.
so much. Okay, so we're going to continue on with our program over here. We have upcoming is Rabbi Teitelbaum, the full interview with Rabbi Teitelbaum, which again is we put together a rabbi that's such an expert in chinuch, has been in chinuch in America for so many years, and moved here to Eretz Yisrael, to Israel, and he's going to share with us a lot of chinuch from the aspect of chinuch, the challenges that we face as olim, integration, and for anyone that's dealing with chinuch. So without further ado, here we go straight for Rabbi Teitelbaum. Thank you so much for tuning in, and don't forget to donate. Keep on the donations coming in. Thank you so much.
Hi everyone and welcome. We have the privilege and the opportunity to speak to Rabbi Teitelbaum. Thank you so much for joining us today. We have some exciting and important questions to ask you, if you mind answering them. So we'll start with the question. You've been a Rav for many, many years abroad in the United States, and in the community, I'm sure you've been working with a lot of children. And the question is, what changes do you see in the challenges that the children are facing today?
Changes in terms of how kids used to be challenged one way and now they are increasingly challenged.
Yeah.
Which they are.
Right.
Sense with which we raise our children today is with a quicker pace of life all around us, a quicker expectation. We want to see results, as we do in so many other things in life. We expect to see the results quickly. So the patience that we need, so that what we hope will slowly develop in our children, we don't necessarily have enough patience to see that which is coming. It'll come, but we need to be more patient than we are. We're not patient about very many things. We are accustomed to getting things done more quickly than ever before, with immediacy. So we want quick results. And the children themselves are challenged by that as well, by expectation or hope to get things done very quickly. And meanwhile, life is a much slower and a much more deliberate process than that. And by being deliberate and careful, and sometimes very measured in what we do, in what we say, in how we discipline, in how we educate, in how we rear our children, we'll be better off by that cautious, slow, deliberate process. And sometimes we're just trying to move too fast and expect too much too quickly from our children. As far as what the children themselves are challenged with, I mean, obviously, some of the social media that they get very into, if they have the ability to be connected in such ways to social media, is very, very challenging. That would require a tremendous amount of time just to really delve into the challenges of what kids are seeing, exposed to, how they're interacting through social media, and why it's so challenging. But A, they're very distracted. If they're on electronic toys and games, there's a tremendous level of distraction. There's isolation, because if they're not with other children the way they could be, if they would be doing the kinds of things we did when we were kids, where we didn't have these abilities to just sit home and play and be distracted with electronics, we were busy playing ball, usually with other kids. So there were more healthful kinds of interactions in our free time, and fewer less healthful interactions with things and with gadgets. And then of course the idea of Just, having to posture oneself. This is particularly true for young ladies, for girls who are looking to be thought of a certain way, looked at a certain way. If they have these smartphones, if they're connected and somehow involved in social media, so there's a tremendous, almost unnatural sense that they have to exhibit, they have to portray themselves a certain way because they're on display. And their friends are expecting them to be on display and to then posture themselves in a certain way. It's all very unnatural and can be very, very, very unhealthy. These are challenges that did not exist as few as 20 years ago, 15, 20 years ago.
So it's mainly more of a social, it hurts more the social life of the kids, would you say?
It helps them to have good interactions, healthy interactions with other children that are about the people, that are about doing things together, whether it's going on a bicycle ride together,
Right.
studying for a bechina together, working on a school project together. So yes, some of it has to do with being not really socially isolated, but just not having as much good, healthy time spent learning about oneself through others and with interactions with others, learning how to be a better friend, a better person, by having to work with someone else, let's say on a class project, on some kind of a school project, where you have to encourage one person to do one part of the project and this child has to do his part or her part of the project, and they have to work collaboratively to work and put it all together. These could be very healthy things that are not there when there's a tremendous amount of distraction and even preoccupation with, some of the distractions that are so common today, be they with social media or, electronic games, electronic distractions of some kind.
Mm-hmm. Is there anything, as far as the problem is huge, is there any Siebel solution that we could, I know it's $1 million question, what's the solution, but anything to start with, because this is kind of a reality that it seems like people gave up. It's how can we fight this? This is just society. How can we deal with this problem?
Clearly having parental guidance that limits access to certain kinds of very negative influences is very important. And parents having time to spend with their kids and being there to guide them in the child's free time with how to spend that free time, and being mindful and thinking about, what is my 8-year-old, 9-year-old, 10-year-old, 12-year-old, 14-year-old, 15-year-old, what is he or she doing in his or her spare time? Let's consider, what is my child doing in that spare time that he or she has, and what would be maybe a little bit more healthful for him or her? And how can I guide my child and my child's friends together? Maybe I should be in touch with some of my friends' parents and say, what can we do to make their time out of school, the time they spend together, make it more productive, more meaningful, more healthy?
Wow. So you're saying at the end of the day, us as parents, we need to take the responsibility and be on top. We're the solution, the parents.
We're supposed to try. We've got to try, and never give up. But the schools are clearly doing everything they can to educate our children. I don't know, I'm not familiar enough with local institutions to answer as to what the schools might be able to do to improve on how the children see themselves, feel about themselves, feel about Yiddishkeit. But there's probably room for improvement in that, there always is.
Okay, so that kind of brings me on to the next question of the generation gap. You know, parents today, you know, I don't know, from 40 and up, we're brought up in a completely different generation. The reality was different. It was like living on a different planet, and the kids today are living really, really far from that reality that we grew up at. What can we do to narrow the gap? What can parents do to narrow the gap between them and their children?
Most likely, the single most important thing to do is to listen. Because the gap indicates that the children are in one place and thinking about things in a certain way, taking in life, observing everything around them, processing it, and coming to a conception of what's real, what to do about it, how to react to what they're feeling, seeing. And we're looking at the same things, but not through their eyes. So we don't quite see the world the way they do. We're convinced that the way we see the world is correct, is real, and not necessarily the way they see the world. And even more importantly, we're not really in touch with, and not really hands-on with, well, what do they experience? Because if you don't know how someone thinks about what they're experiencing and about what they're seeing, you can't know what their life is about. So it would be really important to listen, to really listen, and then to, if necessary, even struggle to understand what my child sees. What is he or she living through in their experience? Not to say, well, but that's not what's happening. Because when they say that they see and feel a certain way, believe them. That is what's happening subjectively as they're experiencing it. That's what their life is about. We can't possibly help and be as good a parent without first understanding what they're experiencing and what they feel about what they're experiencing. So if we listen really well and internalize, what it is that they're experiencing and feeling and why, then we can, hopefully with knowledge and experience of our years and with the tremendous amount of love that we have for them, we can start to guide and maybe even dare point out where something could be explained in a different way, or a path might be chosen that ultimately leads to fulfillment and a meaningful life, but that's a little different than the path that the child might feel is very apparently good for him or her. But first we have to listen. We must listen.
Wow, yeah, that could be very hard sometimes. I mean, maybe in normal cases to really pay attention and listen, but what if the situation is like really hard to understand? It's like you really feel it's really wrong. Like when it gets more difficult and you really feel I don't know how he's thinking that way. How can he possibly, I know this crazy generation, however, like what to do when it's a little bit more tough?
When you might find it less bridgeable because of that kind of a challenge that you just described, being consistent with suggesting that there may be another interpretation to what you're experiencing, and there are different ways of going about answering the challenge that you, my beloved child, son or daughter, are experiencing. It would be good to get some advice from Rabbanim and from perhaps some professionals who do counseling, how do I respond to this particular situation? It's kind of clear to me that this is a very negative view or an injurious view or not a constructive way to think about something or plan that my child is planning to do, and I can't seem to dissuade him. I'm not succeeding in showing him, where he might be mistaken. It'd be a good thing to have someone with professional training give us a little extra guidance in those cases.
Guidance to help him bridge that gap and understand.
To know
the
how
kid
to
better.
bridge that gap, if it's bridgeable, know how to bridge that gap. How to communicate a different perspective and try to convince a young person who can be very, very convinced that they see what's right, they know what's right, what's best, and what they want. And how to, that might be what you want, but can you understand, my beloved, why it might not be what's best?
Right.
And once you can crack open a little bit of that, well, maybe you like it and you want it, but is it really long-term? Is that what's best? And there, you got a little bit of a wedge that can start to move things maybe in the right direction. Slowly,
Right.
carefully.
Just a little note there. I heard it in the name. This problem always exists. I believe in previous generations. Shimshon Raphael Hirsch, he said that he recommends to get married when you're young, because then you're closer to the age of your child, closer to that generation. Then you'll understand your child better. So I'm saying, how much more in our generation?
Yeah. Rabbi Tversky, Rabbi Dr. Abraham Tversky, was famous for saying that we have to note how, when we're in our 50s, we finally have sense enough and intelligence enough to know how to raise our children. Only for whatever reason, God gives us the ability to have the children, and we do start our families when we're in our 20s, not when we're in our 50s.
That's a good thing. Okay.
The wisdom we have when we're much older, the energy we have when we're much younger.
Yeah.
And so part of what we have to do is recognize that we're seeing things differently because we're much older. It's interesting to note that sometimes the wisest advice in parenting will come from a grandfather or a grandmother. It's not only because their love is unconditional, which is true, it is, but it's more than that. It's that they have experience, and they've experienced enough to know that some of the things that might bother the parent terribly shouldn't. Or, yes, it makes sense that it's a concern, but with time, it'll most likely be okay without us having to sweat too much. But the grandparent senses that and doesn't feel the urgency, doesn't have the panic that a parent has. The mother and father can get panicky, understandably, because their child is not as they want, and there's the possibility that it's the beginning of a move to Chalila be off the derech. So there's this sense of panic which the grandparent can more easily avoid because they're more experienced, and maybe their view is a longer view and a wider view than the narrower, more immediate perspective of a parent.
They're less emotionally involved, and it's not their responsibility. So I guess that makes a big difference when it's the parents.
They also have more experience, have more life experience,
Right.
and they've made some of the mistakes that we're busy making as parents, or not, and they know not to make those mistakes. But that experience and having seen this before, and knowing with greater confidence that the outcome's going to be okay, can give them a better handle on what to do or not to do than the parent.
Wow.
And parents should think about the fact that, what would I do if I was the grandparent, And sometimes maybe it's a good thing to consult with somebody, maybe a grandparent or somebody of that generation.
Right.
Get a perspective.
Right. In a sense, it's easy. I thought this very easy. I'm not there yet, so I could say it's easy to be a zaidi, to be grandparent, because the second the child has any problem, he has a diaper, you just hand it to the parents. You just take the nachas.
That's what they say.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's what they say. They say that, parents are stuck in that middle situation,
Right.
you know. The bad joke is that the grandchildren and the grandparents have a common enemy.
Okay, just because, like, kind of a segue into, we were talking about grandparents. So this is a question that, you know, in Akshiva, they would get once in a while. In parenting, this comes up. What if parents are, you know, busy in the chinuch of their children? They have a certain mahalach, like we say. And the grandparents visit, and sometimes they have all kinds of, things to correct. You know, I don't, telling directly to the children, do this, don't do that. How should parents respond to their parents getting involved in the chinuch?
Probably with a two-pronged approach. One would be, let's be positive. That in the first instance, say to grandmother, grandfather, why can't we be positive? Let's spend time doing something meaningful, something positive, something enjoyable. Come to the Avos Ubanim session and learn with your grandson. Just not necessarily every week, but once in a while, come if you can. Or you're here this Shabbos, Matzah Shabbos, we have a program. Why don't you join us and learn with my son, your grandson, as an example. You know, and similarly, a grandmother and a granddaughter. So let's try to turn it to. Of course, we want you to have a wonderful relationship and an influential relationship, but in a positive way, please, by all means. And then the other prong, the other side of it is to very gently, but definitely with a certain firm conviction, share, not in front of the children, but share your vision of what we as parents are doing, why we're doing it this way. Explain that it's not that we are ignoring, how little of benching he benches, how little of davening he davens. We're not ignoring where that skirt is or isn't riding up, but we are, with advice and with planning, measuring how to move our son, our daughter along in a positive way, without unnecessarily rebuking, admonishing, not doing it in a way that might not be positive. So please trust us. We are aware of the concern. We share the concern, but the approach to how we're going to try to get from point A to point B is going to be chosen by us as parents, and please allow that. And that has to be said as elegantly and as politely and respectfully as possible. That's the other prong to the two-prong approach to this.
What advice would the rabbi give parents that start seeing their children, I wouldn't say too young, but I would say over 12, 13, when they're starting to grow up, seeing them getting less interested in Yiddishkeit?
And that lack of interest is manifesting how? What does it look like or not look like?
They see it like, for example, a kid, the classic one, he has a hard time davening. And, nothing's not what they call going off the derech, but just he's less interested in going ahead and doing the things in Yiddishkeit, such as davening, tznius, by girls, etc.
I think the first and most important thing perhaps is to not panic, and then not thereby through panic to bring undue pressure on the child, but to seek out answers to the question, why? Why the change? If this is a young boy who was davening better, why now less so? If this was a girl who was more inclined to be, a tznuah, and to be more refined in her midos. What happened? What changed? Because there are factors that can be addressed more immediately, and then there are factors that cannot. And we have to know what changed. So, for example, if it's the wrong circle of friends, that's one set of problems. That's one very challenging problem.
Bad influence, you mean?
Bad influences. Then you have to recognize that maybe I need to build up my son, my daughter, in a positive way, and point out that if not to try to change the environment, which you might not be able to do, if this is the school, if this is the neighborhood, you may not be able to just rip the child out and away, nor might it be the most helpful thing to attempt. But you might be able to convince your son, your daughter, that, that's not best. There's something higher, there's something better. But that's if it's a question of influence, which means that it's not that something terribly negative has happened to the child, so much as there are just certain weaker forces around them, and they're gravitating to something lower. If something is just a question of gravitating to less, you say, but you're so much more. And you try to lift the child up, and you try to say, but you can daven, it's something special. Your davening, your tznius, the way you hold yourself and maintain yourself, your dignity is so great. You can be and should be something special. There may be, however, other influences, or there may be other circumstances that are leading to a sense of my Judaism and my Yiddishkeit doesn't seem to be so important. It might be that they're not being made to feel successful in school. They might be feeling that they're failing. They may be unduly reminded that they're not succeeding. They need then, therefore, to be compensated for some very negative messages which they may be receiving, hopefully not from parents, maybe from a Rebbe, maybe from Morot, maybe from a school principal. And then it also is the case that our schools, Baruch Hashem, many of them are very, very large and populated with wonderful girls and boys. But as far as individual attention is concerned, there may not be the very great individual attention that each child deserves. And it's best to provide that attention remedially, maybe by having an extra Rebbe come and reward the child for learning something special. As an example, take a particular limud and say, I don't know what you're doing or not doing in school, what your grades are in your bechinot, but I want you to spend some time with this Morah, with this Rebbe, and we're going to learn something special that other children don't learn. Have your child feel like, oh, okay, that might be not the first thing that the child's thinking of. You're going to reward me with more work and more learning, and say, yeah, that opportunity to learn once a week with this Rebbe is something special, and you're going to learn something that other children don't learn. You're going to become knowledgeable in an area that others may not have, because this is something that you are shayach to, that not everybody is shayach to this. And then reward the child something in some material way for spending that time with that Rebbe. As an example. So here you're taking a child who's not showing that much interest in learning and urging them to try something for 45 minutes a week that's unique and special. And of course, it very much needs a special Rebbe. Whoever you bring in and pay to do this has to be someone who also understands the purpose here of lifting this child up, lifting this boy or girl up, and making them feel very special. And then having them engage with that learning in a way that's more personal and less formal and impersonal than the learning they typically do in school. That's just one example of how we can try to address that. Davening is a more thorny issue. We're not necessarily there with our sons when they're davening, or with our daughters where they're davening. But it's something that should be addressed, and could be addressed by a discussion with the yeshiva or the Beis Yaakov. What has changed? Why is it changing? And again, very slowly, we can suggest to our teenage son or daughter how important tefillah is, and discuss what the tefillah is, but acknowledge that sometimes less with kavanah, and having a real relationship and expressing yourself genuinely to the Borei Olam, even more briefly than the long davening, is meaningful and more important than the very lengthy davening that could include, long tachanunim on a Monday and Thursday, and all other kinds of times where there's reason to just look away and try to find something of more interest. Emphasizing that it's a very personal time, and that, the fact that they're not davening as well and with as much interest as they did before shouldn't be tackled head on. Rather, just try to take some of the davening and suggest that some of the davening become more real and become more poignant to our son or our daughter. And talk about how it's about a relationship to HaKadosh Baruch Hu. And then maybe we'll find that yes, they'll still generally look out and about and not necessarily be so careful about those 45, 50 minutes of tefillah, but some of the time, at least, they'll spend actually davening.
And then you reach the goal. That was the whole purpose. So basically, they don't have anything against Hashem. That's when they're less in Yiddishkeit, they have nothing against Hashem. They're not on that level even, and that's what sometimes parents can think, that they're going down in Yiddishkeit. There's a cause for it.
In most instances, in almost all instances, if someone gets Chalila to a level where they're angry at HaKadosh Baruch Hu Chalila, that's something that they think they're angry at HaKadosh Baruch Hu. It's probably rather something that has happened that really means they're angry at one of HaKadosh Baruch Hu's messengers who didn't do such a very good job.
I've seen throughout the years, many cases of children that were struggling in this area, and when, like the point you said, that when there was someone over there gave them individual attention, was there for them, and kind of reiterating their success and just giving them that attention, the love, it changed their life. It changed them much their life.
Lift them up.
Yeah.
Lift them up. We had a wonderful Rebbe in our summer camp, very, very famous individual, Rabbi David Trenk. And after he was gone, they wrote a book, a description of his life and his work.
Just love him.
Just love them.
Wow.
And
that would sum the whole thing. The whole thing that
three
you said.
words. Those 3 words is just love them. There's nothing that a Talmud of Reb David Trenk could do to thwart that ahava. Nothing. And that's the ahava HaKadosh Baruch Hu has for us, for Klal Yisrael.
That's
Lo
what saves
yichbu,
us.
lo yichbu. There's nothing that can work to put out the fire of that love Hashem has for us. That's the same way we have to be to the children in our families, in our schools. It has to be the same love that HaKadosh Baruch Hu has for Klal Yisrael.
Wow. That's a very powerful tool that we could use. Move on to the next question. When one child in the family is struggling and not doing so well, or is having some bad behavior, and and it comes out at home, and other brothers and sisters are seeing all this, experiencing that. What can the parents do to kind of help the other children not be influenced by his bad behavior.
If that bad behavior is in any way self-limiting, so it's not that the child at risk is pulling actively siblings to join him in adverse, negative kinds of behavior, which is very rare. That's not typically what happens. Then it can be that we will tell the other children that there is a better way. Your sister, your brother is in a particular place in his or her life. We love unconditionally, you and I, my child, and I, the parent, and my wife or my husband, mommy and tati, abba and ima, and you. We all have to love this older brother or sister, or younger brother and sister, as much as possible, as much as ever, and understand that some of this that you're seeing, some of this behavior is not best. This person is not at his or her best, but then again, that happens to all of us. In this case, it's bolate. Here, it's a little bit more pronounced. So we have to kind of accept the person, even though the behavior is not acceptable, but we love and accept the person, and distinguish between that very kind of distinction. The behavior on the one hand, and the person on the other. And emphasizing that those are separable, we usually can find our other children spared bad influence, and at the same time have them almost respect the fact that Abba and Ima are struggling with this, but doing it with, and struggling along with them in a loving way with the sibling who's at risk.
Because they're going to be more understanding of the situation. That's the other children. They're going to be more understanding.
They'll do both. They'll know that that example is not an example being set correctly, and we're not following it. We're told expressly that that's not really acceptable behavior. So it's an acceptable brother who's acting unacceptably.
Mm-hmm. And what about in more extreme cases when the child is really going out of, it's maybe beyond bad behavior, it's already, seeing him doing things that the children probably shouldn't be seeing. If it's, for example, he's on the social media exposing himself to all kinds of things, and the children around see it, what to do? I know this is a big shaila. It's gedolim we're involved in these shilas. Generally, what can parents do? What should they do in that situation when it's really getting more severe?
If it's more severe and there's a real threat to the quality of the other children and to the quality of their life and the quality of how they're being reared in the family, they have to ask for guidance. And there may be a point where they have to put down certain rules for that son or daughter who's at risk and have them understand, hopefully they will understand, why there are going to be certain red lines that we just can't see crossed.
One thing for sure, like you said, this is a question. It's a shaila that needs to be brought to the professionals.
It has to be brought to professionals and to Gedolei, to
Right.
someone to very intelligently and carefully.
Right, but
give
one
up
thing
sock.
I understand you could say for sure, that this is the child that's doing the wrong things. He's your child. You never could give up on that child. He's your child forever. There's no such thing of signing off your child.
Someone once told me that Rav Gershon Edelstein was asked, and what if you had a son who was smoking in the street on Shabbos? Would you be seen with him in the street? Would you? He said yes. I didn't hear it from Rav Gershon directly, but someone said to me that he would not, turn away his own child no matter what.
That's for sure. That's the cool.
That's for sure. But again, how to mitigate the bad influences
Right.
is a much thornier issue.
It's a serious issue. Okay, so we discussed a lot of the issues and the problems that we're facing. Now let's talk more positive. What can the rabbi suggest to give to some parents more positive tools that we could acquire and use in chinuch today?
Exude simcha. Exude happiness. Be happy. Be genuinely happy. And be happy mitoch Torah and mitoch simcha shel mitzvah. If a parent is consistently upbeat and actively involved in good things, in things that are ruchani, that are spiritually uplifting, and then because they're spiritually uplifted, they show it and they shine with a certain simcha, it's infectious. It defines the whole atmosphere of the home. And you can, without having to push too hard, eventually pull in your son, your daughter to join you at whatever it is that's giving you such a palpable sense of joy, such a high. Whether it's a certain act of chesed, whether it's a certain way of davening in a certain place at a certain time, or it's a Shabbos that's so ruchniistic, that has special singing, that has miros that are sung with really a dveikus, consistently. And then with that positive attitude, you lift children up with you, they get drawn in. To have that kind of a home requires a very conscious effort. You have to have your hands on the steering wheel at all times. And it has to be that when there are difficult days, they're not magnified. When there are challenges of all kinds, social, economic, spiritual, they're also not magnified. But that Hakol Tov, and the joy and the Simchas HaChaim as a Yid overwhelms anything that could possibly come up that might obstruct or diminish that sense of joy. And then if we have that kind of Simcha and our kids are living lives of Simcha with their parents, we're in a good place. That's probably the single most important thing to do, is to have a spiritual life, live spiritually, live a ruchniistic existence, and conspicuously so. Let it be seen and felt by our children so they can be drawn into it. And then where we have, to make that effort happen in school, maybe we need to sometimes push on the yeshiva or the Beis Yaakov and make sure that they're emphasizing, besides limudim from books, a sense of joy in Yiddishkeit, a sense of pride and joy in being Yid in a very active way, because that can do worlds for children and give them a whole sense of identity and pride in being a Yid that would be lacking if we're just telling them what to do, why to do it, and when to do it, and how to get good grades.
Yeah, like they say, that you don't remember what the Rebbe taught you, all the information, endless information you were given in class. It's more the environment that was in class. If it was happy, it was uplifting.
So I understand that Hakshiva has a fantastic mentoring program. We had in Cedarhurst a mentoring program that was so important and so successful because they had an older bacher, or bachura, an older sister, older brother, as they would call it, big brother, big sister, who spent time, meaningful time, and did so with a sense of respect for this young boy, young girl, and a sense of you matter and you care, not just to me, but to the community. The child knows, the young boy, young girl knows that this is mita'am, the community. Like in this case, it's mita'am hakshiva. But that means that I'm part of a community, I'm part of a community that cares for me, even if necessary, maybe I could call it that coddles me, but wants something from me for my sake, for my benefit's sake. And that's a tremendous asset to have those teens, those older teens who are willing to spend time with kids and give them guidance and respect and a certain brotherly, sisterly love that they need and deserve. Is a very, very great positive thing. And when that is not itself adequate, of course, I of course advocated, as I mentioned before, we have to today be forward thinking. We can't, close ourselves up in our homes and say, we don't need a therapist, we don't need counseling. We're past that. That concept of, it's a sense of shame that we have to have if we need a little help interventionally, therapy, counseling. We have to be past that completely. We have to be open for it, even looking for it when necessary, which is again something wonderfully provided by Hakshiva, access to really wonderful B'nai Torah and B'nai Torah who are professionally trained to help families and help teens and help kids.
Right, it's a vital thing for our success in Chinuch to have for the community. Community has to have an organization that supports, that gives that support, the counseling, working with the teens, and that's kind of the backbone of our chinuch is having those opportunities that you can counsel, you can go for help.
And the young people cannot but know it and realize that, wow, there's a whole structure, there's a whole institution, there's a community behind me. I'm part of something that has a certain selflessness about it, that cares about me. That's a very big deal. For a young person to sit up and recognize that the community, which is something they don't necessarily know that much about, the adult world, again, one they don't necessarily know much about. But look, they're focused on me, they care about me. I'm part of something very good and very nurturing. And that's very, very helpful.
Right. It's a lot of the calls that Hakshiva gets on a daily basis of parents, good parents, they mean only good. They really want to help their child. They just need the tools and the fact that they have who to call. They know, okay, I don't know what to do right now, and I just can call and ask for counseling, ask for, what should I do with my teenager or kids at risk that need like really pikuach nefesh help. So that's what Hakshiva is busy doing.
So important. Such excellent work.
Yeah, so the Rav is saying basically if the kid is happy at home, he feels that comfort, so he's not going anywhere, he's happy and he's gonna be matzliach. What can we as a community, as Hakshiva, what can we do better to make this, bring it to every home, to spread this?
Well, Hakshiva does reach out to families and certainly has a presence in the community that we know that that's a resource, that in times of doubt when we're not sure what to do, how to handle a situation with our child, we know that we call the Hakshiva phone number and we know we'll get assistance. That's so terribly important. To know, for a parent to know that they're there, Hakshiva is there to help. It's important that people should know that Hakshiva is there to help, not at the end of the line where things have gotten so rough, we just can't handle it ourselves anymore. Hakshiva is there for seemingly minor questions, just for some guidance, just for some good advice that can be made available. And it can be that 1 or 2 sessions with someone professionally can give us a whole insight, open up a whole new world as to how we can be better parents. And Hakshiva offers that to us. Hakshiva could also be credited for having times where it offers programs that will guide parents, that will guide the community.
Right, very, very topics that parents deal with daily and with the schools, such as ADD and ADHD and all the learning difficulties. That's something that's almost ein l'chavais. You have so many families are dealing with this issue.
And Hakshiva helps them and guides them to the resources that are available, Baruch Hashem, in the community, so that each child has every opportunity to succeed.
That's the goal, that's the mission. That's incredible. Thank you so much for sharing with us this important information. I'm sure sometimes we don't know where this where these answers, these important pieces of information can go. It could save sometimes lives. It could save sometimes lives, and people that heard, they got some guidance, maybe even from here from the rabbi. So that is very important. Yishar Kach, thank you very, very much for coming on.
You're very welcome. B'hatzlacha.
First of all, it's a big honor. Thank you, Rabbi, for coming on. For me personally, a big inspiration to me when I was in yeshiva. We had an extensive English library. So not having read very many books in my life, because I was one of those teenagers, it was a big simcha to be able to pick up Rabbi Twersky's books. Thank you very much for that. So I guess we're going to just ask a few questions to hear a little bit about Rabbi Twersky's background, a bit about Israel Aliyah, teenagers, and some of the work maybe that Akshiva does and how they fill a special role in the community. Would you be able to describe a little bit about your upbringing and your background?
I did that in a book. The book was titled Generation to Generation. There I describe pretty much my father's home and also some of the circumstances. I was born and raised in Milwaukee. And my father had Hasidim of the older generation, but there was no chinuch in the town, except for after school bar mitzvah class. So I had no Jewish friends. There's only one other, of my age, there was only one other Shomer Shabbos boy in town. And so I went to public school.
How does the son of a Rav survive in public school? Presumably you didn't look like the other kids.
No problem, it was great. After Bar Mitzvah, I went to yeshiva in Chicago, which was very productive. And then after several years, my oldest brother was all in Denver. I went to Denver, spent a year with him and learning Yeridaya. I don't know that I was, how much affected I was by being in public school, but although obviously it gave me a much broader appreciation of the world.
Is that maybe how that began the journey of moving towards the psychiatry path that you've taken in life that you may never necessarily come to had you not have been through that public school system?
I don't know if that had much to do with it. You see, my father was a Hasidic rabbi, and his study was always full of people who were there asking for advice and guidance. He was a natural-born therapist. Not trained, but natural-born. And I envisioned myself, he envisioned me, I was the third son, that I would take over the shul. The only thing is that after I got smicha and I became assistant and rabbi in his shul, I realized that times had changed. The generation of my father's generation had turned to him for counseling. But after World War II, psychiatry and psychology had a major rise. And it became clear to me after being the rabbi for a few years, my parishioners were not looking for me to teach them Torah. The adult education was not popular in 1951. So what was I going to do? I had no one to teach Torah to. What I was going to do as a rabbi, I was to do the ceremonials, the bar mitzvahs and the weddings and the funerals and the unveilings or whatever. But I was not going to be able to do what my father did, because the people, instead of going to the law, were going to the professional counselor. And so I realized that in order to do what I wanted to do what my father did, I have to become a professional counselor, either psychologist or psychiatrist. It so happened, everything is B'Hashgacha, that year, the medical school in Milwaukee, which had been a 6-day-a-week school, changed to 5 days a week.
Okay.
Had no Shabbos problems. So I went to medical school, and then I went on to psychiatry. I went to Pittsburgh for psychiatric training, and I stayed in Pittsburgh for 40 years.
When did you turn your hand to writing books? I tried to look online the other day to see how many books you've written, and I don't think the screen was able to contain on it in one go how many books you've written.
85.
Even 85 books. That's at least 85 more than I've written. When did you first feel I have to write a book?
I was in my second year of psychiatric training, and my mentor in psychiatry was a very excellent person. And I wrote something and I gave it to him, and he said, Abe, don't publish it. Put it aside for 10 years. And he was right. Because later, 10 years later, I realized that would have been a serious mistake to have published it. Then I wrote the first book on self-esteem. It became obvious to me from the beginning that the key issue in human life is self-esteem. So I wrote a book called Like Yourself and Others Will Too. And it was refused by 17 publishers. And the 18th one took it.
What?
Once I had a book published, it was easier to get the second book published.
Okay.
And et cetera, et cetera. So it fed on itself.
How did you get to the feeling of I have a book inside me, I have to get another book out? How did 85 books is a lot of books.
Yeah. You have a feeling just like a composer has a melody that he has to get out.
Because nowadays, if you talk about self-esteem to people, they say, "Oh, of course, yes, self-esteem. Everything revolves around self-esteem." But I'm guessing that in the 1970s, people weren't. It wasn't part of everyone's lexicon to the same extent.
Yeah, right. I became obsessed with the idea that all of the patients that I saw, whatever else was the problem, whatever else was bothering them, they all had unfortunate low self-esteem. They were very capable people, but they didn't see it. They didn't see anything good about themselves. So I started writing about self-esteem.
You noticed it was a common thread among whatever various different things you saw. Okay, and I guess that, and having been brought up probably in the home that you were brought up in, and the perspective that you had, that the concept of self-esteem, you didn't have to look very deeply into Sfarim to see eventually that somebody spoke about the idea of, whether it's in Sifrei Hasidus or Musa, whatever it might be, the idea of believing in yourself. And like these you mentioned before that, your own father was basically a very accomplished counselor without ever having gone through any formal training.
Okay.
We have this very rooted in our tradition. So I assume that for you, it was a very beautiful marriage of worlds.
Right.
And do you have a favorite of the books that you've written? And I guess you got plenty to choose from in the 85.
Well, I mentioned before, Generation to Generation, which is my childhood and father's home, and that was my favorite.
Did you ever encounter that people didn't know what to do when they met you and by your appearance and say, hang on a minute, you're a...
No, strangely enough, that didn't happen.
Okay.
Especially with patients. You know, when patients came to see me, I did not notice that they were taken back.
I know that you must have hundreds, maybe thousands of also almost amusing stories, but do you have a funny story from your professional experiences?
Yeah, there's some stories. I can't think of too many. I remember once I was taking care of a woman who was a severe diabetic, and she had gone into diabetic coma. And as I was treating her, eventually she came out of it, and she opened her eyes and she saw me. Now she was a devout Catholic woman, and her reaction was, it was a German woman, and, "Ach ja, er ist schon gekommen." You thought I was Jesus who had come.
I thought you were the Messiah incarnate. Now, you currently live in Israel?
I came to Israel about 4 years ago.
4 years ago. Okay. And did you always know that you wanted to live in Israel, or?
Yes, even before that, I used to come to Israel 4 months a year. 2 months for Pesach and 2 months for Chagim. So that was for many years, and I knew I was going to eventually come to Israel. Finally, I made Aliyah 4 years ago.
When you look around you here in Israel and you see, I mean, many Olim here, in Ramat Bet Shemesh, plenty of Olim. Clearly, there's a challenge going to live in any new country, but particularly for Olim and maybe their children, their teenage children. What are some of the significant challenges that you feel that?
For many, it's understandable a culture shock, and it depends where they stand on the spectrum of the Torah observance. For example, I went to public school, and I went to college. My grandchildren are not going to college. The educational system, I can't speak authoritatively because they're not familiar with the system here. But I think that in general, it leaves a lot to be desired. And this is one of the things that I would like to talk about to the group. And that is that people have the idea that the yeshiva, the prime purpose of the yeshiva is to transmit the Torah knowledge. It's very interesting that the Chaim Vital, who is the successor of the Arizal, asks, why is it that the Torah does not specifically talk about midos? And he says that midos could not be prescribed in the Torah because they must be a precursor to Torah. Therefore, I think that education is important and knowledge is important, but you have to be a mensch in order to have Torah. Right? And unfortunately, it happens too often that people are, even they become knowledgeable in Torah, they're seriously lacking in midas. So Chaim Vital says that he makes a bold statement. He says it is midos are more important than mitzvahs. And it's a very bold statement. and not enough is being done about that. Yes, there's some formal learning of Musa, but I think that the Rosh Yeshivas still see their prime purpose is to transmit knowledge. Right?
Yeah.
And my the way of thinking is that that's important, but it's secondary. Especially in an age where you can get knowledge without having a teacher, right? You have so many technological ways of knowledge, and the prime purpose of the teacher should be to help a person become a mensch. And only then can the Torah be useful. Yeah, I'm thinking about one incident that I had. Most of my work in later years was treating addiction, alcoholism, drug addiction. There are groups for the alcoholic and for the drug addicts. There are also groups for family members. And initially I was told that it's more important for the family to get proper knowledge and proper treatment than for the patient. And there's some truth to that. But let me give you a little example, though, something that was very impressive to me. At one group, a woman gave her history. She was married to an attorney who was a judge, and he was a very bad alcoholic. Later on, he got sober. She had tried to get pregnant, and she couldn't get pregnant. And she went to various doctors, and her family doctor took all the information together, and he said, "Nell, you're going to have to accept this. You will never be able to carry a child." And she says that was devastating to her. But in the meantime, her husband got sober and went to Alcoholics Anonymous. She says, when I turned to 40, I decided it's time to stop smoking. So I gave up cigarettes. And then after a few months, I started having some weird reactions. So I went back to the doctor and I found out I was pregnant. This was a miracle. And then the alcoholics very often talk about the miracles that happened to the alcoholics. So this was a miracle that happened to me. And I knew that it was going to be a boy, and I knew that he's going to be a Rhodes Scholar like his father. She said, for many years, I thought that I had dealt very well with controlling my feelings and my anger. But it all came back the first time the nurse put the baby in my arms. It was a Down syndrome. And I said, God, why did you do this to me? We adopted 2 children, right? And I resigned myself that I was not going to be able to have a biological child. And then you build on my expectations. Right? And then you hit me with this. Anyway, one of the things you said was, when I sit in the chair and I hold Chrissy in my arms, and I see how he's defective, his facial features are different. She said, I realized that if that child didn't come into the world for anything else except what I'm going to tell you now, it was all worth it. Because when I sit and hold a child and I see his defects, and I realize how much I love that child with all his defects, that's when I can understand how God can love me with all my defects. You see, one of the things that I found about working with alcoholics is that they have gone so far off that when they recover, they develop a spirituality that even some from people don't have. And so the issue of self-esteem has been central in my mind. Some people have asked me, how could you write so many books? I said, I did not write many books. I wrote one book in 85 different ways. Because everything I wrote is on the issue of self-esteem. We are all delusional, negatively delusional. We don't see ourselves as we really are. And of course, that has an effect on our children as well. And so it's the central issue of education that I think needs to be addressed.
Habaitweski, not long ago, used to be a teenager himself. You have a good teenage story?
I was pretty much of an American teenager. I went to ball games. I loved baseball. I love football. I still do. Unfortunately, now I'm wheelchair bound. You see, I think that our teenagers are living in a very difficult world. Never before has the world been as hedonistic as now. And too many people have, as a goal of life and as aspirations, getting all the fun and pleasure that they want. And that has to lead to disillusion and disappointment. Because like any other addiction, it can never be satisfied. No matter how much you get, it's not enough. And so people are missing happiness. And I don't know that many teenagers today are happy.
Right, they don't know to distinguish between having a good time and being happy.
Right.
Right.
And I would say, even in the yeshivas, there are many yeshivas where Friday night, the boys get together and drink. And they don't drink because they're happy. Alcohol is an anesthetic. You know, I tell people how different our Rosh Hashanah is from the secular New Year. Right? Comes December 31st, midnight, people gotta get drunk and scream Happy New Year. I said, alcohol is a sedative and an anesthetic, and it kills your feelings. Now, if you're really that happy about the new year, why do you have to drink to forget it?
Yeah.
I'll tell you what the reason is. I said, generally we walk along in our daily life, and we don't take time to figure out where we're going. And when the new year hits, we say, wait a minute, what's coming up here? 2019 is just over? I thought it just began. Right? No. 2020. I'm a year older. Am I better off financially? No. Am I healthier? No. Do I have any legitimate reason to expect that 2020 is going to be appreciably better? No. So it becomes a very depressing moment to realize that a year of my life is gone and I have nothing to show for it. And I don't think that any reason that next year is going to be any better. So what do? You got to numb the pain, so you drink. Rosh Hashanah, we don't numb the pain. Rosh Hashanah comes after Chodesh Elul, Selsi Mitshuva, Cheshbon HaNefesh, recognize where our faults have been and what we can do to correct them so that the next year can be a better year. We don't have to drink to get happy.
I'm just wondering how Rabbi Twersky thinks maybe that's affected people in their own personal well-being or mental health in this period of time where they've all been immobilized for a period of time.
Yeah, no question it's affected people. Right? Being quarantined is very difficult. And it's very depressing. And unfortunately, Shalom Bayis problems have increased. And we're not at the end of it yet.
Right? We might even be in early days. We don't know yet.
I haven't been out of the house except Shabbos morning. There's a street minion down the block. That's my experience of being out of the house. And the house is locked up. Right? Nobody comes in.
We are talking in the context of an evening that's happening for Hakshiva, the organization in the neighborhoods that's trying to continue the amazing work they do. To what extent do you think that Hakshiva as an organization could be part of the solution?
Chinuch, the focus of Chinuch is that a child should have a sense of worth, of self-worth, self-esteem. That's the core of everything. I have a little story that I love to tell. When I was 9 or 10 years old, I was a chess champion. Now anybody can beat me. At that point, my father's show at that point in the 1930s had a lot of Russian Jews, and they were good chess players. And eventually I beat them all. For Rosh Hashanah, one Rosh Hashanah, we had a guest from Chicago. And so Rosh Hashanah afternoon, he said to me, "You want to play chess?" I said, "Yontif." He says, "So what's wrong with playing chess on Yontif?" Okay. Well, the host said it's permissible. I played them 2 games and I beat them soundly both games. The second night of Rosh Hashanah, the Gabbai comes over and he says, "The Rebbe wants to see you in his study." I came in and my father was looking at the sefer. No, he didn't come in and say, "Hey, Dad, what do you want?" It's not the way it went. I came in and I stood there silently, waiting to be acknowledged. My father looked up from the sefer and he said to me, "You played chess on Rosh Hashanah?" I said, "Yeah, the Rov said that you're allowed to." He didn't say anything. He looked back into his sefer, and almost imperceptibly, that's all I got. A little shaking of the head. But I got the message. The Rov was right. Technically, it's permissible. But I should have understood that Rosh Hashanah is not a day for playing games. And that was wrong. Okay. So I got my discipline, but I can't leave the office to study until my father says, "Get to hate." You know, Go ahead. So I stood there waiting. After a few minutes, he looked up from the sefer, smiling a little bit. Said, "Did you beat him?" I said, "Twice. Gig is in the head." That's the perfect example of chinuch. Letting the child know that what you did not approve of what he did, but you're not going to let him leave the room feeling badly about himself. Today's teenagers are, plus, look, we've got such technological advantages that have ruined our interpersonal relationships. For a group of kids to get together is what? You get together and each one is holding his smartphone and nobody's talking to each other. Okay? So we really give interpersonal relationships a difficult challenge with the smartphone. And today's teenagers, again, I think the role of the mechanech is transmitting knowledge is secondary. The role of the mechanech is that the students should have a feeling of worthiness, cheshivut, that a person must develop a sense of cheshivut. And there's so many things that interfere with a person developing cheshivut and not adequate steps. Yeah. So when I saw one day a book advertised, Building Self-Esteem in Children, I grabbed it and read it, and I think it's a Bible. The author says, if you've given your children everything but not self-esteem, you've given them nothing. Now the thing is that you cannot give children self-esteem. What you can do is you can make an environment that is conducive to their developing self-esteem, but you can't give it to them. And I think that's true from the home, and it's true in the educational system. And if they don't get that, then they're high risk for getting off the derech. They're high risk for getting alcohol, or high risk for getting into drugs, high risk for getting into gambling.
And I guess their framework of reference is so different. I mean, I was speaking to a boy who must be now about 20 years old, and he said to me a remarkable thing, and it's really struck me. He said to me, I couldn't imagine watching a movie if I wasn't high.
Right.
And to me, I mean, I have many, a lot of people memorize Sfarim. I have a lot of movies swirling around in this organ up there. The whole point of entertainment is that it maybe you enjoy it. You enjoy it for what it is. The fact that nowadays even something as basic as entertainment can't even be contemplated unless you're in some kind of imposed chemical state. I find it's just a framework of reference that is just so alien to me. I just wonder. I find it mind-boggling that even basic things like, I mean, Rav Twersky said before, what was one point of time called Dibuk Chaverim is now, you could just put a bunch of smartphones on the table and the Chaverim can leave, because that's really where the Dibuk happens. And again, I think the idea also, even just of entertainment, is just this basic leisure activities people can't even do without being in some other advanced chemical state.
Right. They're running away from themselves.
So an organization that provides them that environment to be with themselves and being nurtured and accepting for who they are.
This medidut that we've been forced into has hit that vulnerability.
Right. Rabbi, I really want to thank you for your time.
Pleasure.
Really, for me, it was a big covered to be able to speak to you and continue to inspire us.
We'll try.
Please, God. Thank you very, very much, Rabbi. I really appreciate it.
Go to.
Kol tov.